Ladies and gents, PepperBelly back again, and today I want to discuss probably one of the most important aspects of tactical shooters and milsims, and that would be movement-related controls. Controls in general, but in this video we're going to be discussing movement controls and how to make it feel as streamlined and intuitive as possible. And I'm going to be demonstrating this through Ground Branch because Ground Branch does it perfectly. This is literally the most perfect example of what I think the most fluid controls you can possibly attain in a shooter to make everything feel as fluid as you can possibly attain without it feeling clunky like Arma 3 for example, and giving you all the controls over the way your character moves. The speeds he moves and transitions, all of that. Ground Branch does it perfectly, and it all boils down to one simple feature, and that literally has to do with the low ready posture. So if you aren't familiar with Ground Branch, you're able to toggle between the low ready and the shoulder fire ready position. So you either have the weapon up in your shoulder or you have it down. And if to show you in glorious third person, low ready, up and ready to fire. Low ready, up and ready to fire. Pretty simple, right? And in fact, in the low ready, you can actually toggle between two different positions. You can either have it in the high ready or in the low ready. But anyway, I've already displayed this in my Ground Branch demonstration whenever it was first released back in May. So I want to discuss movement speeds and how you transition between them. Because a lot of games, especially in tactical shooters and milsims, a soldier or an operator is able to move at any given speed required for the situation. So if you need to move from one place to another very quickly, you are able to do so. If you want to move at a pace that's slow, which allows you to retain accuracy and engage targets, you need to be able to do that as well. There needs to be able to have some dynamic of allowing you to move at different speeds. That doesn't mean you have to use a controller for the analog capability, because that's just, we're on PC. Nobody wants to use a controller. We all like our mouse and keyboard. So the way Ground Branch does it is very simple, but extremely effective. And I think games like Interstellar Marines and Squad, and I certainly hope the developers of either are watching this video at some point, and take notes, because this is a phenomenal system, and is, as I've said, hands down the best system I've ever seen implemented in a tactical shooter or milsim before. So to demonstrate it very simply is this. Most games have the default walking speed, which would be like this. In fact, let's just say most games have your weapon up like this, so this is a better demonstration. Every game typically has your weapon up in your shoulder. And you have the default walking speed, meaning you don't hit shift, you don't hit anything, just using WASD by default is usually your walking speed, which is the slowest, which is the most natural and should definitely be the way things are. And typically if you hold shift, you move quicker, usually, depending on the game you play, right? You'll move quicker. The way Arma 3 does it is shift would be your sprint. So shift, if I were to press shift, I would just enter a sprint like so. But if I want to toggle between this speed and this speed, I need an additional key for that, which is the combat pace toggle. So I need to be able to hit a combat pace toggle key just to be able to allow me to do this or this, meaning more keybinds. And that's not even counting the fact that there's also the slow walk. So there would be the slow walk, and then there would be the faster pace like this, and then there's the low ready run, where your weapon kind of drops a little bit, so you run a little bit quicker, and then you have sprint. So in Arma 3, you have 4 movement speeds, all of which require extensive keybinds to achieve something very, very simple that Ground Branch literally achieves by having 2 buttons. Shift, and whatever button you have selected, or key. For me, I changed it from, because it's default middle mouse button to bring your weapon up and down like this, I changed it to right click. Because to me, it's more in line with what I'm familiar with, and just feels more natural to me. So, anyway, to get into the demonstration of what I'm trying to show. In the Ground Branch, you have the walking speed, and then you can hold shift down, and you have the movement speed increase like so. It's not practical for engaging targets. Like if I bring my sight up, you can see it bounces around a lot. This is not how you want to engage targets. You want to move slower like so, or stop. That's what you want to achieve. However, it allows you to be able to fire in a defensive maneuvering type of posture or movement That's what you're trying to do, right? Like, if I'm going to be moving like this is more or less me trying to suppress a target while I move to a better position so that I can either move slower or get into a standard firing position and engage a target more accurately. This is a temporary measure. This is not meant to engage targets accurately. You're just trying to put rounds down range to suppress the target while you maneuver. That's the whole point of it. In Interstellar Marines, for example, what they have done, which is clever, but in the end doesn't feel as good as I would like. Like when I first played it, when they introduced that particular keybind, when they added sprint to the game, you know, here I was thinking like, oh, okay, that's really neat, because then you can use shift for both sprinting and toggling between walking and running. So it does 3 things in one key. So essentially what it would do, if I were to walk forward like this, and I were to tap shift to toggle, then I would move at this speed. And if I were to tap it again, then I would move at this speed. The problem is, this kind of takes away the ability to really control how you move your character, because you're constantly having to toggle and tap, which doesn't really feel natural. It makes it a little difficult if you're strafing left to tap it and untap it to really maintain full control over your character's speed, to make it a nice fluid transition. It kind of makes it a little annoying having to obviously micromanage tapping to really control it versus just modifying your movement by holding shift down. So that's what it does. Anyway, so you're moving like this, you tap shift, you move into a faster pace, you tap it again, you move to a slower pace. If you hold shift, you sprint. And if you let go of sprint after holding it, you'll automatically be moved into this speed, and you have to tap it again to walk. Now, it's not terrible, but as I said, toggling shift over and over again, because obviously you want to be moving from the slow to the fast to the slow consistently. Like, you're doing this all the time, and constantly tapping it to toggle between, as I said a second ago, is just a hassle and a pain in the ass and not exactly ideal, and it's just kind of, I don't know. I'm not really a huge fan of it. It's a neat kind of concept. I mean, all the keybinds and how things actually happen in Interstellar Marines are a neat concept. Like the idea of you're able to either hold down the right mouse button, which makes it hold to ADS, or you tap it and it toggles. Same thing for crouching, and same thing with the flashlight and the laser sight. If you hold down crouch, then it acts as a hold to crouch. If you tap it, it toggles it. In fact, another game that did this was Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter on PC, which I thought was a very, very intuitive, like, control method. I thought that was amazing. When I played that, I was like, holy crap, I can either hold it down if I want to, or I can tap it, and it knows what I want without having to go into the options menu and choose ADS as either toggle or hold. It's just dynamically in the game. Like, you just either hold it or you don't, and it works perfectly. Like, it's such a genius idea. I don't know why most games don't adopt that particular control method. But anyway, to get to the point, you want to mitigate controls, consolidate everything into a simple control scheme while allowing you to be able to feel total control over your character. And the way that Ground Branch does it, which I'm finally going to display and showcase, which is the whole point of this video, is simple. It's all has to do with modifying the weapon's position by manually controlling it. So if it's in the low ready like this, I move at a tactical, or I move at a walking pace, which is similar to this speed. There's no difference between this speed and this speed. Now in most games, like I guess Interstellar Marines and Squad, you can obviously change that. So like you can make low ready walking slightly faster, and you bring up the weapon and he'll slow down a little bit. So this allows you to have 2 additional speeds based on just toggling the position of the weapon, which translates to real life, because in real life, typically when you want to move quicker, or if you want to move a little faster, you don't have your weapon up, because it hinders your performance, and also shooting isn't exactly ideal. But in the low ready and at a slow pace like walking, it doesn't really make a difference. But for gameplay sake, you can increase the low ready walk speed slightly to make it a little bit more quick to, like, you know, stack up at a door with your team or to get into a position, and then you can bring up the weapon and you move at the tactical slow walk like so. As I was saying, there's no difference. The difference comes in whenever you're actually having the weapon up. So instead of it being like Interstellar Marines, for example, where if I'm walking and I have to tap shift to move into this speed and tap it again to move out of it, in Ground Branch, I have to hold it. It acts like every other game that does not have a sprint, where if I'm walking like this and then I hold it, I move at a faster speed, which is awesome. And then I let go of it and it's back to walking. I hold it again and I move. It feels very, very good. This is the way that it should be. Just very simple and streamlined. However, if I want to sprint or run quicker, all I do is lower the weapon. And now I move at a faster pace. Now, Ground Branch does have sprinting. So I can hold down control and sprint if I wanted. But I mean, you can obviously supplement that or replace it with just making holding shift down with the weapon in the low ready your sprint. And you bring it up and then it's back to this pace. And if you let go of it, then you're walking again. So essentially, low ready or weapon ready is the modifier, not shift, not having multiple keybinds. This is the modifier as it would be in real life. And the beauty of it is you can actually toggle between your sight by using the mouse wheel. The way that Ground Branch also has it set up is if I want to bring my sight up, instead of obviously clicking or holding down the right mouse button, all I do is scroll up and it brings the sight up. And if I scroll up again, it toggles between the additional sights you may have. So if you have a canted iron sight, or if you have the, obviously, iron sight on top of the ACOG like so, scrolling up and down toggles between that, or scrolling up repeatedly toggles between it. And if you scroll down, he brings it back into a point shooting posture. It's just so much better. I think every game that's a tactical shooter and a milsim that wants to call themselves that should adopt this. Because it adds to the realism. Because in real life, you don't always have the weapon up. It's in the low ready, like most of the time. You only have the weapon up when you're actually actively engaging a threat. Otherwise, it's down. In a game like Squad, this would be incredibly beneficial, because if you guys remember from Project Reality, all player models in third person are automatically in the low ready. If they start shooting, then the weapon raises, or if they aim down their sights, the weapon raises. But otherwise, in third person, it's always in the low ready. In first person, though, to the actual player themselves, the weapon's always up like this. But to everybody else, they're seeing it down. In Squad, this would be very beneficial, simply for the case that now you can't actively engage or accidentally squeeze off a round. This kind of acts as your safety. Plus, aesthetically, like looking at it from a visual perspective, it looks a lot more realistic and nice to have everyone kind of grouped around with the weapon in their low ready, not really displaying a threat to one another. Like, that's one thing about Project Reality that looked awesome, is everyone would be standing around with their weapon in the low ready. It just looked good. And then when they would engage, the weapon would, like, you know, dynamically raise based on what you're doing. So giving full player control for this, and the best part is that you can actually set up, you know, where your last sight picture was. Like, obviously, if I want to have it in the point shooting stance like so, and I, you know, toggle between it, it's going to remember the last position it was in. But if I want to remember having it here, it can act like having, you know, I raise it and the sight comes up. Like, it feels completely natural. Like, it's such a streamlined experience that I don't understand. As I was saying, I don't get why more games don't do this. It's so perfect of a system to make raising a weapon a modifier for how you actually move. And if you were to look at this in third person, I'm going to get out of the sun so you can actually see the character without it being all shaded. Third person displays this really, really well. And for some reason, the firing mode is glitching out on my face. Just ignore that. Why is it doing that? Hang on. Okay, so we're back again. And it's gone, thank God. So, okay, we're in third person. This is where you can see it the most, you know. I'm walking forward, speed's the same, right? I bring the weapon up, speed's the same. If I hold down shift, I move a little bit faster. And if I lower the weapon while still holding shift, then I run even quicker, as you can see. It's a lot more noticeable in third person than looking at the actual character model. You can see the speed in which he increases, right? And then obviously you got sprint, which is insanely quick. But you can just see just how that speed transitions, just by simply lowering the weapon. And that's what the animation technically does when you actually sprint anyway. In a game, the weapon automatically lowers anyway when you activate sprint, right? So why not give the player control over the actual position of his weapon, allowing controls which keybinds you have set to be a lot more simplified. A hell of a lot more simplified. I'm walking, it's up or it's down, either way. Holding shift while it's up means I move at a faster pace, and then lowering the weapon means I move at a sprint pace. Why games do not do this? As I said, I don't know. This should be standard in all shooters everywhere. Ground Branch is literally the epitome of controls and movement that I've experienced up until this point. I have yet to encounter anything that feels as good as this game. I think it's a prime example that developers should look at for simplifying controls, making what is normally a very complicated thing. Like if you look at Arma, it's a prime example of having way too much shit. Way too much shit. Making movement just a clunky experience and unnatural. And you play this game and it's like, holy shit, everything's just so simplified. It just feels completely natural. Through the simplest method ever. You're using only shift as a modifier. Shift and your weapon position as a modifier. That's it. I really think games like Squad, and most especially Interstellar Marines, should definitely consider something like this. Because one, having the weapon in low ready, in a first-person perspective, grants full screen awareness. There's no weapon obstructing your view, right? You have full screen awareness like you would in real life. You stack up at a door, you're ready to make an entry, and then you bring up your weapon, you go in, you clear it, you lower the weapon again, you have full screen awareness. That to me already is a gameplay mechanic that should definitely be included in a game, just because now your weapon's in low ready. This is what like in real life, I can see better, right? I don't have anything obstructing my view, but when I actually need to engage a threat or get involved in combat, I can bring the weapon up, and it's not that big of a deal. It's still there. But I mean, it's very beneficial both for a visual aspect of looking at characters and seeing that, oh yeah, this looks cool because he's not presenting a threat immediately. The weapon's in the low ready. But if it needs to be, it can be raised, and just that acts as a modifier. So I'm either, running at a faster pace. The point is, you don't have to toggle anything, and that's the point I'm trying to make, is that you don't need to toggle between movement speeds, because all you need to do is right-click. That's it. You want to run faster, lower the weapon. Now you're running faster again. Oh, you want to engage a target? You can bring up the weapon and you move slow. And you can engage targets. It's literally that simple. And then you can go back into moving and suppressing. Or if you want to sprint to a position and then get there and then start engaging targets again. It's very simple. This should be a standard in all games. Just saying. Because it's so great. It literally is. I can't stress that enough. Go and download the tech demo. This game, you can go download, like I have the operator edition, but you can go and download what is 1.008. If you look at the bottom of my screen right now, right there, it says 1.009. That's the latest version. It's actually being actively developed right now. I think sometime early next week, or this week, technically, because it's Sunday, they're going to come up with the final release of 1.009. But the tech demo is 1.008. It's what I did my initial demonstration on, and that'll show you. Just go download it and run around in the game. Every developer should look at that, I think, because it'll just show you, like, holy crap, these controls are literally the greatest thing to grace this planet. So, implement it into your game. I don't know. Like, come up with something similar. Because that alone is a way of making aiming down your sights, moving, all of that, just feel like, just that. That's all it is. You're just toggling the weapon position. It just, oh God, I don't know, whatever. I've already explained this, I think. I don't even know how long this video is. I kind of been, like, just going on a rant here. Not really explaining anything in a cohesive manner. But I mean, I demonstrated it. This is what needs to be done in games. Interstellar Marines would benefit strongly from something as simple as this. So you don't have to toggle shift. You can even add more movement speeds, as I said. Low ready walk can be faster than the weapon ready walk. And then obviously holding shift down to run would be your speed for moving quicker. And then lowering the weapon would be your sprint. It's as simple as that. all while being able to make holding shift your modifier, not having to toggle keys or have multiple keys like Arma 3. Alright, again, I don't know how long this video is. It could be 20 minutes. I have not been keeping track of time. So I'm going to cut it short here. Let me know what you guys think, because I don't know. I think this is like the best thing ever. Like every time I come in the Ground Branch, it just makes me think like this is literally one of the best games being developed right now that I can think of. And it's partly due to the simple controls. Just how simple the controls are easily one of the best parts of this game. Because everything just feels so natural, so streamlined, and so intuitive that it's just like, I don't know why. I'm repeating myself a lot because yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Spread it around, discuss it in depth. I don't know. Go download the tech demo, because seeing it in action here and actually trying it for yourself in-game by moving around is something that'll help you understand what I'm talking about if you don't know, if you don't really fully understand. You'll see that these are literally the best controls on the planet for a tactical shooter, giving you all the movement speeds you can possibly need in the respective categories and the respective uses through using the exact same 2 buttons as modifiers. Not needing a crapload of keys to just make everything complicated and annoying and complex and clusterfuckish. It's just, it's simple. But anyway, that's it. I'm done. My name has been PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me today on this video. And I will see you guys on the next one.